Hello there, this is the news on NTA International. You can join us on Vision TV 247 and on other social media platforms as displayed on your screen. I'm Lami Ali, and Hannah Olainka is on the sign language interpretation. Let's now go for the headlines. United Nations Security Council passes resolution demanding an immediate and lasting ceasefire in Gaza Strip. As Nigeria intensifies efforts to end tuberculosis by 2030, National Assembly reaffirms commitments to legislate on improved funding. Also on the news, alleged tax evasion, suspected foreign national escapes from lawful custody. We begin from the State House, where President Bola Tinubu has approved the setting up of a renewed Hope Infrastructure Development Fund to bridge the infrastructure deficit. This is one of the outcomes of today's meeting of the Federal Executive Council at the State House. Our correspondent, Musbah Namwahab, is joining us for an update.
In the studio, thanks a lot for joining us. Now, today, the Federal Executive Council meeting, 10th in the series and 4th for the year, has just ended with a lot of memos being submitted to the Council and some approved. And we have the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, with us to tell us a bit of those memos approved for today, particularly the approval of Mr. President for the setting up of a National Infrastructure Development Fund, which will be coming up very soon. It will be launched by the President himself. But now let's get from the Honorable Minister what this fund is being targeted at. Honorable Minister, thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, this seems to be a laudable initiative by this administration. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
Well, first and foremost, we all know the enormous deficit in terms of infrastructure that we all have in this country. And government, the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu thinks it necessary to have a creative way out of the situation. A study has been done, and it was established that for Nigeria to really bridge this gap, there is a requirement of about 875 billion naira dollars that is required in the next between 2016 and 2040, a period of about 25 years or so, to bridge this gap. And therefore, what that means is that this fund is now been established. There is an attempt to spend about $35 billion annually to go into infrastructure so that Nigeria will fix roads, Nigeria can build bridges, Nigeria will fix hospitals, the telecommunication industry will also be revamped, the power sector will also have some chunk of that. The whole idea is to ensure that the deficit that is being suffered by this country in terms of infrastructure is being significantly bridged. I recall that the president himself, while he was a governor of Lagos State, attempted this. Now Lagos is about the 5th largest economy in Africa. It is the kind of initiative that the president also bringing to the federal government now to ensure that Nigeria has this infrastructure in abundance, so that the kind of economic prosperity that all of us desire to have will be in sight for all Nigerians.
Right, Mr. Minister, sir, congratulations on the rescue of the students in Kaduna State who were returned to the States just yesterday. I'm aware that a development came up from the council. What is the position of the president now, and what about those who perpetrated this act? What is the government doing about that?
Well, you know that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has since taken a stand on the payment of ransom and he has also taken a stand that all those who have been kidnapped in this country, he will do as much as possible to ensure that they come back and reunite with their families. It is heartwarming that these children, the ones in Kuriga and the ones in Sokoto, have been brought back to safety without the payment of ransom. Mr. President has thanked the National Security Advisor. He has also thanked the security agencies for this feat. He has also charged them that they should ensure that no such kidnappings are allowed to happen within the Nigerian territory again. And all those who have been kidnapped will be brought back to their families. And Nigeria is a great country. We should not allow criminals to continue to take over our territories. Criminals should not determine the way that we live our lives. And we all know that these criminals are not just waging a physical war against us, they are also waging a psychological war. And therefore, he has charged all Nigerians, especially members of the Nigerian media, to ensure that in the way they report about this kidnapping, care is taken to be very patriotic, to be very focused about national development, to put the country first, because these criminals don't wish us well. And we'll fish them out, we'll bring them to book. All those that are kidnapped will be brought back to justice, or be brought back to their families, rather.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, for your time. Let's also let you know that the Council also approved the Economic Council team task force, which will begin operation soon. All of this is just to see that the economy of the country is re-engineered for better prosperity and development of a country. We'll bring you details of this in our subsequent bulletins.
Our correspondent Musbao there with updates from the Federal Executive Council meeting. Now, the United Nations Security Council for the first time passes a resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The resolution also demands the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. Comfort Fashion has the details.
Those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2024/254, please raise their hand.
Up until now, the Council had failed to agree on calling for a ceasefire since the war began in October. But now 14 countries had voted in favor of the resolution, while the US, Israel's main ally, abstained.
Abstention. The result of the voting is as follows: 14 votes in favor, 0 vote against, 1 abstention.
The move by the US signals growing divergence between it and its ally, Israel, over Israel's offensive in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the decision enabling the resolution to pass marked a retreat from the country's original position. A statement released by his office also said he decided to cancel meetings between an Israeli delegation and US officials in Washington that were scheduled for this week. The US had previously been accused of using its power of veto to shield Israel at the UN. Comfort Fashion, NTA News.
And on the African continent, the president of the Pan-African Parliament, Senator Fortune Charumbira, has called on members of parliament to conduct themselves in a manner that would boost public confidence in the institution, the work of parliamentarians, and the continent as a whole. Addressing the media, Charumbira, who polled 127 votes out of 172 to be re-elected, stressed the need for the parliament to work for the good of Africans wherever they may be and extend a hand to the media, describing it as a strategic partner. He called on the African Union to, as a matter of urgency, look into the funding needs of the parliament to enable it to function effectively. He also appealed on member states to ratify the Malabo Protocol, without which the PAP would remain an advisory body to the AU. Senegalese are awaiting the results of the country's presidential poll held on Sunday. Both the opposition and the incumbent parties are confident of winning the election. Again, Comfort Fashion has more.
Uncertainty reigned in Senegal over the outcome of the Sunday poll, which observers said took place in a calm and orderly manner. Reports say whoever comes out on top will be tasked with steering Senegal out of its recent troubles and managing revenues from oil and gas reserves. Faye and Ba, both former tax inspectors, had emerged as the favorites to win in a crowded pack of 17 candidates.
Nous avons réussi à faire de cette élection.
Opposition figure Faye had promised voters profound change and a presidential program of left-wing Pan-Africanism. Supporters of Senegal opposition candidate Faye are beginning to celebrate as they sense victory. At least 7 of the presidential contenders have congratulated Faye in light of initial indications from the ongoing vote count.
Le vote s'est très bien passé.
Meanwhile, Ba pitches himself as a continuity candidate for the outgoing president Macky Sall.
De proclamer une victoire.
President Macky Sall had warned against premature self-declaration of victory. Comfort, fashion, NTA News.
Now, authorities in Russia have formally charged 4 men in connection with the attack on a Moscow concert hall for terrorism. The attack resulted in the tragic loss of scores of people, while several others were wounded. Comfort Fashion tells us more.
The charges came late on Sunday at the Moscow's Basmani court as Russia lowered flags to have masked for a day of mourning over the deadliest attack inside the country. It was said to be the worst attack in Russia for decades. At least 137 people, including 3 children, were killed and another 182 people were wounded. Health officials say about 40 of them were in critical condition. The men, all of whom are citizens of Tajikistan, were charged with committing group terrorism, and the offense carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Meanwhile, the Islamic State group, ISIS, has claimed responsibility for the attack, which was carried out by 4 of its fighters. Comfort, Fashion, NTA News.
At least 2 villages in Indonesia's West Java province have been hit by landslides caused by prolonged heavy rain. Several villages were reported to have been missing, while hundreds have been evacuated to temporary shelters. Again, Comfort Fashion brings us the details.
Chipenda village in West Java province was submerged just before midnight on Sunday evening after hours of torrential rain when many villagers were asleep. 9 people were reported missing in the flood and landslide that happened in West Bandung district on Sunday night.
Akibat pergerakan tanah.
Local official Rega Wiguna said viewers had arrived in the isolated village to search for the missing victims. He said around 250 locals were evacuated to a village hall and schools turned into temporary shelters after dozens of houses were damaged. Indonesia is prone to landslide during the rainy season, and the problem has been aggravated in some places by deforestation, with prolonged torrential rain causing flooding in some areas of the archipelago nation. Earlier this month, flash flooding and landslides on Sumatra Island killed at least 30 people, with scores still missing. Comforts, Fashion, NTA News.
Now, Nigeria is intensifying efforts to end tuberculosis by 2030, with the National Assembly pledging commitments to legislate on improved funding and protection of the rights of TB patients and families. To buttress Yes, We Can End TB, which is the 2024 theme for World TB observance, actors from the private sectors, civil society organizations, the government and the National Assembly took to the streets of Abuja to close ranks and end the scourge of TB by 2030.
to hospital. 1. 2. The risk is that if you don't go to hospital, you continue to infect other people in the community. Good thing about TB treatment is that once the person is on treatment, you no longer become infectious to other people.
As parliamentarians, we take a bold step to take this challenge on, fight, advocate, and ask government for more intervention in the area of allocation and release of resources to fight TB. We will continue to play our role to protect and promote the rights of people affected by tuberculosis. We will also oversight to ensure that people who violate the rights of people affected by this disease will be held accountable.
These advocates further appeal for investments to build the capacity of health workers, improve TB management systems at all levels, as well as funding of research for informed decision on tackling the disease. TB is preventable and curable with free testing and treatments. You're watching the news on NTA International. Time now to take some messages. Do stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned. After going through medical checks to ascertain their health fitness, the released Kuriga pupils are now at the government's house in Kaduna. They were handed over by the military and are expected to be reunited with their parents, who are anxiously waiting to receive them. They were rescued in the early hours of Saturday. The federal government has urged the international community to partner African continents for more development through sustainable funding. The Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy Yohane, stated this during her presentation at the just concluded 68th session of the United Nations Women Conference. The Commission on the Status of Women, CSW, held in New York, USA. The minister remarked that Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu is committed to job creation for women and youths by putting in place economic structure to fast-track investments, accelerate implementation of the various frameworks for achieving sustainable development goals by 2030. Investing in women in the African sub-region is essential in upscaling girl-child education, ending child marriage and other harmful practices through multi-sectoral approach. The Commission on the Status of Women is a functional commission of the United Nations Economic and Social Council, an organ of the United Nations that promotes gender equality and women empowerment. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, has confirmed the escape of Nadeem Al-Jarwala, a suspect in the ongoing criminal probe into the activities of Binance in Nigeria, from lawful custody. In a statement by Head of Strategic Communication, Office of the National Security Advisor, Zakari Mijinyawa, says the answer, in synergy with relevant security agencies and international community, are working towards rearresting the suspects. Preliminary investigation shows that Anjalwala fled Nigeria using a smuggled passport, while the personnel responsible for his custody has been arrested, with investigation ongoing to unravel the circumstances that led to his escape from detention. The federal government has been investigating money laundering and terrorism financing on the Binance currency exchange platform. Until his escape, Nadeem Anjarwala, who holds British and Kenyan nationalities and serving as Binance's Africa Regional Manager, is facing trial by Nigerian courts. By investing and promoting a culture and ecosystem for innovation to thrive, the public service can retain and attract the best talents in a competitive labor market. This was the submission of the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Emerson, and other key players as the Civil Service 2023 Innovation Competition Award in Abuja. Haman Jabani reports that 203 submissions were received.
The competition sets out to provide a platform for civil servants to identify problems in the service and proffer innovative solutions, as well as stir up creativity and engaging in divergent thinking to drive solutions to improve the quality of life of the people. This year's edition is the fourth since inception in 2020, and participants were made to compete within the scope of the following subjects: reward and performance management, mentorship and cessation plan, as well as talent management and knowledge transfer through e-learning. A total of 203 submissions were received and collated, out of which 99 civil servants participated in the first round of pitching, and a total number of 14 contestants competed, from which 3 top winners' idea emerged, with 10 other winners.
This is why the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation remains committed to sustaining and strengthening the structures established to drive innovation in the public service, which are in line with the policy thrust of the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan.
For the first time in my ministry, we are moving more into commercialization of our innovations.
As government, our people are constantly demanding for better. Technology means they're also a lot more aware, so they're demanding for more from their government. And the only way as a government we can drive this is through innovation.
The National Assembly commended the head of the Civil Service of the Federation for the drive, while calling on the service to support civil servants more.
We need to support every innovative idea that will take this country forward, and the civil service is a very important segment of any government.
Let us also remember that innovation is a continuous effort. As such, it is my belief that this ceremony shall be a catalyst for further creativity and collaboration within our civil service.
The radio station basically will give a voice to the civil service. It will give us the ability to control the narrative out there.
It is expected that the winning solutions will contribute to enhancing the trajectory of the Federal Civil Service. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria has announced that all intending pilgrims will now pay 6.8 million naira for this year's Hajj. The Commission had initially pegged the fare at 4.9 million naira. However, the Commission asked those who had paid the initial amount to add 1.9 million naira. Intending pilgrims wishing to participate in the 2024 Hajj are advised to pay a balance before 29th March 2024. Sports update is now.